Welcome back. Slicey23 here, back again with some knife therapy. And today I have for you the Monterey Bay Knives Old Guard, or the OG as they call it. This knife came in at $215 on their website. Um, you could pick it up in this carbon fiber scale or a OD green canvas micarta scale. I preferred the carbon fiber because I thought it looked better. The micarta looked a little cheap, but Monterey Bay Knives is made up of custom knife maker Ray Laconico and his friend Stanford Owens, and both Ray Laconico and Stanford helped design this knife. That's why there's no stamping on the knife that just says Ray Laconico, like on his designs that he made by himself. Let's get some specs out of the way so you can get an idea of the size of the knife. You have a total length of 8 inches. You have a blade length of 3.5 inches. You have a grip area from the inside of this choil to the back area of the scale of 3 3/4 inches. You have a handle thickness from here to here of 0.46 inches, so nice and slim. You have a width in the pocket from here to here of 1.13 inches. And you have a pretty hefty blade stock of 0.135 inches. And my particular knife, the thickness behind the edge ranged from 18 to 20 thousandths. In my opinion, the allure of this knife is just its simplistic nature, just a timeless design. This knife reminds me, especially in that blade shape, of another timeless design, and that is the Sabenza 21. You just have that just simple yet effective blade shape. The blade has a high flat grind with a pretty polished. You can see some reflections in that satin finish. It's got a vertical satin finish on it. The edge bevels appear to be pretty even on both sides. And on this side, the blade's completely sterile. I love seeing that. And the only markings you have on the actual blade is the Monterey Bay Knives logo. And it's not too large. I like that. You have dual thumb studs that are out of the cutting path, as you can see right here, and a perfectly executed sharpening notch right there. They pass the plunge, so you shouldn't have any smiles when you're sharpening it. Big plus to them. The spine has a chamfer, so you don't have any sharp areas where you don't need it. Close it up. The knife is riding on brass washers. You have standard hardware T8 here and T6 on the body. You have some nice void-free carbon fiber here. Very attractive carbon fiber. It really dances off the light. And it is 3D contoured. One cool thing about this knife is anybody who's had a Strider knife before, you know what I'm talking about. The scale is integral to the backspacer, so that backspacer, this is one big chunk of carbon fiber that has been milled out, and they left this spot for the backspacer. And what that does is it gives it some lateral stability. So, it's got, some locator points here. And, just whenever you're torquing on the knife, the scales are not going to want to pivot. Just another little added touch. They have a nice, I don't know if you can actually see that, but there's a chamfer going down on both sides. And you can see it on right up in here. Just a nice little added touch. Do have a lanyard hole, access to that thumb stud. They have a cutout choil right here that has been beveled, and easy access to that thumb stud. The action is quite snappy. The detent is on the harder side. Um, your titanium hasn't been skeletonized at all, but the carbon fiber has been milled out for a stainless inset stainless liner, as you can see, and it has been skeletonized, trying to keep the weight down as much as possible. Blade steel is Bowler M390, and I love how they kept it off the blade, but they kept it, you will always be able to look at that, see, and you can see a good shot of those brass washers. I don't know if there's a huge difference between brass and phosphor bronze. I know phosphor bronze is self-lubricating. I don't know about brass. I'm sure brass is a little cheaper. The only voids that I noticed is on the back spacer right here, and I'm sure that's more so being that this is the end of the grain right here, and being that I've done some grinding. Whenever you're milling this, that could be just tear out, or could be voids. I don't know, but you don't. The reason why I think it might be some tear out right there, because I don't see any voids on this side right here and on the sides at all here. See, you have a little one right there, but none that I can see. Y'all may be able to see better than me, but I don't see any anywhere else. Lock side, you have just a standard, blasted finish on the lock side. And one thing that I love to see is the lock relief cut. As you can see, is not on the outside, is on the inside, so it keeps this very clean. I love that. It's just those little details that really get me going. And the 3D mill pocket clip has good spring to it. You don't have a whole bunch of ramps, so if you have thick pants, that might not, slide in easily. And I'm guessing this little cutout right here allows for the spring, because I have another Monterey Bay knife that I'll show in a little while that is not like that, and the clip is very, very strong. But let's check it out in the pocket. It goes in the pocket really nicely. That's what you have sticking out, your lanyard hole sticking out. So if you are a lanyard person, that lanyard will come out. So I think that's, what y'all like. But you just whenever I grab it out of the pocket, I grab onto the screw holes, and it comes out nicely with just the right amount of tension. I did a good bit of cutting with this knife, because the OEM manufacturer that they use is a company in China that I have never heard of before. I'm sure it's a small outfit. I have an inclination just from taking this knife apart and looking at a few things of who it probably is. They said the name of the company, but I'm saying like some other work that they do for other companies. I could be wrong there. Let's see. Like I said, I did a good bit of cutting with this knife in M390, and I was cutting with some other knives in M390, and I will say I was very impressed. This one held an edge very well, like it may be Rockwell, that 60, 61 in that area. Only thing that I did notice, and you can see it, let's see that light shining right there. I did get a little chip in the edge, or a roll, one of the two. I think it's a little chip. But other than that, the edge looks pretty good, and I was able to strop it back to hair popping sharp again. Let's see. The action is smooth, and like I said, snappy. Once you get it to break that detent, it does come out pretty hard. The access to that lock bar is excellent. You can see the show side scale sits a little proud, because they cut this choil a little bit deeper. And they also put a chamfer to soften that up, so it's very comfortable to disengage that lock bar. That's something that I really like. My knife is a little bit off center to the right, and that's my own doing, because in order to get mine to where it was nice and smooth, I had to loosen it up to where it's like that, because whenever I center it up, and I know tons of tricks to get knives centered and to make them, try to keep that action. Uh, if I get it centered up, the action is so stiff I can barely open it. But I will say, I don't. 2020, I haven't had much of any luck with knives whatsoever. If there's a problem on a knife that could happen, I'm gonna have it. If any of you follow me on Instagram at the same name that I am here on YouTube, you know what I'm talking about. I've had so many issues with great companies here in this past year. You don't have any jimping up here, but I don't think it's needed because you have this nice choil area right here, a nice flat spot to put your finger. I was able to put some good force down. The ergonomics are good in the hammer grip, good in this grip. And if you shall choose, good here too, the way this rounds over. So ergonomics were a plus. Let's see. The blade to handle ratio, I would have liked to see it come out, to a little bit closer toward that end, especially the way this backspacer goes up and protects you from that. So, not a deal breaker, but I would have liked to see a little bit more blade out of the bigger handle, because the handle looks way bigger than that blade if you look at it. Trying to make sure I haven't forgot. Oh, one thing that makes these scales as comfortable as they are in my hands, at least, not just the contouring, which that helps a bunch, but there's been so many times where I've seen a company contour the scales and then they leave this hard edge right here, and then it just hurts to grip. But I don't know if it'll show up on the camera, but they've actually beveled right there at that edge to make that transition to where it's not sharp whatsoever, and that is a beautiful thing. You can't come in contact with that blade in the closed position, at least I can't. Make sure you have a hardened stainless lock insert that has a detent ball in it as well, and the over travel. I don't know if you can see that shiny spot, but there's an over travel to where you can't hyperextend that lock bar. Let's get a weight on this, because it feels well balanced in hand and a good weight. 3.8 ounces, so not under the ounce an inch, but that's excellent, in my opinion, for an 8-inch knife. Let's get some size comparisons. One that I just showed, the Chris Reeve Sabenza 21. 21 is a little bit longer. Another good competitive option to this, being that these are currently sold out, is the Spyderco Capara. The Capara is a bigger knife, but you have the carbon fiber, and this is lightweight. This is the compression lock. That's what kind of kills this knife for me, at least. Another good competitor, and one, this one's hard to get because it's a small batch company, just like this knife right here, TRM Atom. I don't know if this is harder to get, but they're both not available right now. So I see them about the same, but they're that same form factor, same exact length, same exact size handle. So if you have an Atom and you want to kind of have that, size comparison reference, there you go. But the Atom is much skinnier in hand. And then here is the Ontario Rat Model 1. Back that up a little bit. So the Rat Model 1 is a good bit bigger, as you can see. I'm just a huge fan of Ray's work. I mean, I got several of his designs. There's the Keen. I always forget what this one is. This is a Monterey Bay Knives right here. And what I meant by, this is a Ray design, is see his designs, he puts his name on them, and you will not see that on this one. I also have another Monterey Bay knife of his design that probably one of my favorites is the Min Pin, or as far as the blade shape goes. Look at that pretty edge. My blade finish on it. And another, this one's from Alliance Design. This is his Jasmine model. It's got a nice little nastiness on it. Jasmine is an excellent slicer. This thing's got a deep hollow in there. I would have loved to see a deep hollow on this one. Make it nice and thin. So my nitpicks and complaints. First, the thumb studs for me are uncomfortable, especially with the stronger detent. If you don't get that thing out just right, it really makes my thumb sore. You can see that indentation. Somebody gave me a good idea. I'm gonna put one of those O-rings around it, like on where is it at? Like on the Atom, because I hate these thumb studs. That was my first issue. And my particular my knife, like I said, the problems, if there's a problem, I'm going to have it. Mine had, when I first got it, the action was really, really like crunchy sounding, and it didn't open up all that well. And whenever I took it apart, I found that it had a washer with a big old burr, because whenever the washers were getting stamped, it must have been slid over, so the hole was oblong. It was just wonky, and it had a burr. Reached out to MBK, and man, I'll tell you what, their customer service is phenomenal. Problems happen. No knife company's perfect. I've had problems with every company. Might be small, but no company's perfect, so it wasn't a big deal. He sent me out a new set of washers immediately. I had them like 2 days later. Then, whenever I went to take this knife apart, I was forewarned by somebody else who had the knife that it is super hard to get this pivot off. It had a gob of Loctite, and the pivots, fits nicely. And I came very close to stripping the pivot. If you do have one of these knives, you take it apart, this is the screw that comes off the show side. This one's fixed. This one comes off. So I never liked seeing red like Loctite, or it was that white stuff, but they had a ton of it on there. We talked about the strong detent. It's not overly strong. I can flip it. I couldn't spidey flick this, I don't think. Let's see. Yeah, that hurt. It does take a certain flip. You need to flip up and out like that. Comes out with it's definitely snappy, but they could have dialed it back some to where it would have still been easy. Like this one's super easy for me to disengage, and that detent's holding it in there. Another great one is the Rat Model 1. Nice crisp detent, and it's not overly strong as well. Let's see. Another nitpick is they're not easy to get. They're not available right now, and they're small batch, so can't hold that against them. And it's not a problem with the knife. It's just smaller company. I would like to see a detent ball ramp, even though it really doesn't need it, because you're off the detent right there. So not so bad, and it's not on bearing, so I guess that's really, not really needed. So just make that a little minor. It doesn't have a detent ball ramp. And I think they could have shaved off a little bit more weight by, I'm not really sure why they went with a full inset stainless liner, because carbon fiber is a material that is a standalone material. You can definitely get by with the thickness of this. You could have got by without having it, but they would have had to have like a counterbore with the stainless race washer in there. And I guess I could understand that this was like intended for hard use, but if you got carbon fiber, I just don't see this as a hard use knife. I could see it as a good work knife, but not so much a hard use knife. So I don't know. Like I said, the weight's definitely fine, but if they would have wanted to get it down a little bit, they could have probably just left this as a full carbon fiber scale without any internal milling. And last thing, I'm not an engineer, a knife engineer, so I don't know if this is an issue. Just something that I noticed when I had it apart is that the inset stainless steel lock insert, the detent ball is pressed in there, and usually a detent ball, they drill a hole and then they press the detent ball in there. Well, they're using a wire EDM service. That's what Stanford was telling me, and they cut on the top of the lock face. The wire EDM cuts a slit down there, and then they have the drilled hole to where they can press it in there, and it allows it to separate. And I thought it was a defect or something, but when I asked him, he said that's what they said they do all the time. So, I guess it's fine. I mean, I would have to let y'all know if I ever had it break on me or something. I doubt it. And the way it's set up, whenever it's inside, when it's like cupped inside the cutout where they milled out for the thing to sit in there, when you tighten it down there, it's actually, pressing and pushing pressure on it. So it shouldn't be a problem, just something that I have never seen before. So overall, I like the knife. It performed really well. Whenever I used it, it was a good slicer. It's decently smooth. Hopefully that detent will break in. It's not a deal breaker at this point. It's a beautiful design. I think $215 is fair, especially when you see, this big old thick piece of carbon fiber that they were milling down, and it's just an attractive knife, done pretty well. And I always love Laconico's designs, and now I guess I love Stanford's as well. So there you go. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up so I know you're enjoying my content. And like I said, if you like knife content and you're not already, hit that subscribe button. What are you waiting on? You're going to miss the giveaway. I know it's taking me forever, but I promise it's going to happen. And I appreciate y'all patience. All right, guys and girls, hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful day. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.